Lummer? It's okay if you haven't. This is kind of a niche interest. I'm going to tell you about a Unitarian theologian named Bernard Lummer. Bernard Lummer was interested in the question of what it is that our religion should do for us. And he explained his conclusions by telling a story. When he was a little boy, he was out playing baseball, and he had this hand-me-down baseball glove, and it was kind of worn thin at the palm, and when the ball landed in his hand, oh, it really stung. You ever had a glove like that? Ooh, really feel the impact. So little Bernard goes to his father and he says, Dad, I need a new baseball glove. This one does not protect my hand. And his dad said, Bernard, a baseball glove is not for protecting your hand. You could catch that ball barehanded. You would be fine. A baseball glove gives you a bigger hand so you can catch more balls that might otherwise have slipped past your grip. So many years later, here's Bernard Lummer, a theologian, a Unitarian, who says, now, I don't think the purpose of my religion is to protect me from life. I think the purpose of my religion is to let me catch more of life, to know more, to wrestle with more, to be present with more. So when I think about our third principle, when I think about this excerpt we just heard from Rob Hardy's, I think about the story of the baseball glove. The world is a complicated place full of paradox. Even our principle itself is a paradox. I accept you exactly as you are, and I want to encourage you to grow. But it turns out that paradox is a key part of real practice of religion. This is true across any number of faiths, that when you dig into the deepest wisdom, it is about these paradoxes. A friend of mine likes to sum up the Buddhist teaching of accepting what is and also allowing for change. She says, you are wonderful just the way you are, and you could use some work. She says it in a very charming fashion, so she doesn't usually get in trouble. But that kind of paradox is necessary to live in this world. To say the world is so beautiful as it is, and there are things that are broken that need changing. To say, as Joan lifted up earlier, I recognize my understanding of the world is an illusion. I accept that. And also, my illusion inspires me to try to make a better world. I want to help things grow. And I don't want to simply ignore the things that are outside of how I understand the world. I can't just ignore what is uncomfortable, what is painful, what I don't know how to do. I want the biggest baseball glove I can get. I want to catch all of life. I want to use what I catch to challenge me and to help me to grow. And this is, of course, much easier said than done. It sounds really nice when I say, I just want a really big baseball glove. I want to know all the things. Some of those things are awful to know. And some of them call me to do something about them. Have you ever been seduced by reading or watching the news and you sit there on your couch and you shake your head and you say, gosh, those people sure are making a mess of the world. And it really is awful that people have to suffer in this kind of way in this place or this place or this place. Look, I am really enlightened. I know how bad it is. Well, anyway, it's time to go out to dinner. And if anybody ever done that? I do that. I catch myself in that all the time. Oh. Well, it's a good thing that I am so able to say how much I disapprove of this, that, or the other, but I also have to go grocery shopping, so I don't have time to make a difference in the world. This is part of what it means to commit to spiritual growth, is to catch yourself doing that and say, what am I going to do differently? How am I going to change what needs changing? Am I going to go to the border and go into the desert? Maybe. thing we could do, by the way. The UU College of Social Justice organizes trips to the border. There's already a program, we could sign up for it. Some of it is as simple and as difficult as being in relationships with people whose life has been very different than yours. So if you have come to any of our Renewal House events, especially if you've come to them over and over again over the years, and you have made relationships with the people that we have helped companion in this church, the people who have come through this Unitarian Universalist domestic violence shelter in Boston, and who, some of them for many generations now, have been coming to events and meeting people here, and you have had an experience of doing something rather than just shaking your head at the statistics. But there is always more to do. I've been reading Richard Rohr lately, who says, "We do not think ourselves into new ways of acting. We act ourselves into new ways of thinking." He says, education theory in the last 50 years has come more and more to the conclusion that the lecture method and reading are actually among the least effective forms of teaching. They are highly passive, they are individualistic, they do not necessarily integrate the head with the heart or the body, and they allow us to leave the ego in its usual defended position and virtually untouched. Now, I heard a sound from over here, so let me say, if we're trying to teach people facts, then reading and lectures make a lot of sense. But if we're trying to teach people different ways of being in the world, reading about how bad things are or how they could be different and saying, oh gosh, yes, wouldn't it be nice if somebody helped in that way, does not actually change me. Going out and doing the thing changes me, helps me to grow, helps me to be someone the world needs. Instead of letting me sit back and letting my ego feel smugly superior without requiring me to do any work in the world. This was the pedagogical philosophy that my seminary used. So at Meadville Lombard, they said often, we don't think ourselves into new ways of acting. We act ourselves into new ways of thinking and being. And so the very first thing that one of my professors said was, you are going to serve an internship during your first year in seminary. You're not going to be a hospital chaplain intern, that comes later. You're not going to be a congregational intern, that comes later. You're not going to have any kind of leadership role in any way. You are going to find a position in a homeless shelter or a food bank, something like that. And you are going to volunteer for the most humble duties that you can find. And you're just going to be there with people. And I said, oh no, I feel really nervous about that. Really? So I spent a year volunteering in a transitional housing shelter and laying out mattresses for people who just needed a safe, warm, dry place to sleep at night. And hearing the stories that had led folks to be living in their cars and living in this shelter and trying to figure out, how do we build a new life now? We ran a free medical clinic, and we had group counseling sessions, and we did everything we could. And by we, I really mean the folks who were higher up, because my job was to hand out laundry detergent and shampoo and clean up the bedding at the end of the night. That changed me. I had lost some of the illusions I had about people experiencing homelessness because I spent a year in and among this community. I acted myself into new, broader ways of thinking. I had to grow. I had to live out our third principle. So the way Richard Rohr puts it is this. He says, try this, go here, change sides, move outside your comfort zone, make some new contacts, let go of your usual role and your attractive self-image. Walk instead of drive, make a friend from another race or another class, visit not as a tourist, but by going into people's neighborhoods. Go to the jail, go to the border, attend another church for a while, etc., etc., etc. Then we can live ourselves into new ways of thinking, which seem so called for that we wonder how we could have ever thought any other way. Before new experience, new thinking is difficult, and sometimes even feels dangerous. Afterwards, the new thinking is natural and necessary. Or as the Dalai Lama put it, every change of mind is at first a change of heart. So we asked last week, what is it that this congregation wants to do to be a part of the Great Turning, to be a part of the story of remaking and healing a world which is fractured and unsustainable and climate changed? And we're going to keep asking that question. As ideas come to you, bring them up. Tell them to me, tell them to the Social Justice Committee, tell them to the board. Let's find the places where we would like to act ourselves into new ways of being. And know that the benefit of doing it as a congregation is that you do not have to do it alone. We can encourage each other. We can give each other heart. We can work together to grow in ways that serve the world. Because a church is not only a refuge or a sanctuary or a place where we shake our heads together about the news. A church is a place where we support each other and we equip each other so we can grow and we can go out and we can do things that we thought we could not do. And in doing them, we make our contribution to the world that we dream of. May it be so. May we make it so together.